welcome back. Had a bit of a break in between the last clip and this one due to all the horrendous weather that we've had at home. I couldn't really film much. We're out in the Hawkesbury, so we copped all those floods over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So back into it, you can see the cars behind me. What I'm doing today is I've emptied out some of the gear. I'm going to move this plug, which used to charge our battery via the trailer. I'm actually taking these zip ties off and I'm going to move that up behind the dog box and start working on my switch panel. How good's that? So fridge is in. I've just got to wire up the battery, put the power box in, but that works a treat. It's not in too far that I can't see the temperature settings. I can still see the gauge and all at the back. There, my settings are on the back board, and I've also got my cordless thermometer gauge, which the little sender's in there, and that sends to a digital display that I'll have outside here, probably just velcroed on the front or something. Used to sit in the trailer, so done job. All right, let's get the power box and see how we're going to go fitting it up on there, eh?
A few minutes later.
But that's the box that I'm going to be using. So as you can see, it's just one of those little medicine boxes from the hardware. Nice and light. Work a treat it will. A couple of keys there to lock it. And some fixing bits, little shelf inside. Yeah, I picked that up for 20 bucks. I took it up to the counter, it was out of the box, and took it up and said to the lady, what can you do without a box or anything? It's got a couple of little marks, but it's not going to worry me. It was $45 or something. Had I got it in a box, but 20 bucks, you can't go wrong. And that is going to mount in there. It's going to mount up on that side wall with a bit of luck. So I might have to just shuffle the fridge over. That's why I wanted to test it with the fridge in there. There we go. There's plenty of room. So I'll mount that up in there like so. If I need to change a fuse, I'll just slide the fridge out far enough so I can get to the back of it. The battery box is going to go on the other side, so I'll run the power feed in, the live feed in through some grommets, and then that way it's the shortest distance. That can go up on there. I've just got to size up whether the CTEK will fit on there as well. I did get one of these gang switches I bought online the other week. So as you can see there, it's got the 5 switches which I'll be able to run my lights off. It's got the 12 volt standard cigarette socket. It's got a voltmeter on it, which is pretty cool. And then obviously 2.1 amp USBs, so I could probably swap that over for a USB, but realistically I've got plugs anyway in the car that plug into that, and USB goes in the back, so that's always handy if you do need to charge up something that's only got a cigarette lighter socket, like my drone battery for instance. That's going to go on the front like that, but that'll go up the top. I can even put it off to one side. CTEK on there, that way I can run all my solar and everything in. Alrighty, well, it is Saturday Ave and it's ridiculously hot and muggy out here. I just wanted to film that and show you where I'm up to. I've got me a couple of little openers there just on a pull string, which I had already on there in the trailer, but always handy to have a couple of bottle openers. Anyway guys, that's it. I just wanted to show you where I'm up to with it. I am going to head inside now because it's ridiculously hot and muggy out here. What I'm planning on doing is mounting up the power box effectively to go up on the wall here. I'm going to cut the gang switch into the door, which you'll see shortly, and then I can pull the CTEK charger out of the trailer and get that all wired in here as well. That cord that I mentioned, currently residing at the back of the tow bar there, I'm going to run up behind here. So I'll cut a slot out of here with the grinder and mount my 5-way gang panel switch in there. I've got a little volt and amp meter as well, which I was thinking I might put in the end here, just so you've always got your amperage use at a glance. So, all right, I'm going to get the grinder out. if you're watching this footage, unfortunately I missed a fair chunk of what I've done thanks to a dodgy memory card. I lost a heap of footage putting these in, I think from memory, and some other bits and pieces. But what I've done, I've put a couple of glands in through the wall there, and I have soldered up plug on here. So I now have active power. Got the CTEK in. This cord here is the battery temperature sensor. I have also put in up the top here, I'll spin this camera around, might be a bit dark and hard to see, but I've put an orange LED and white LED light in at the top there, and also I have put one on the underside here, amber and clear white, and I've just got to run the cable now. I'm going to put them down inside the tube there and basically run it down the inside here, and the plugs go straight on there. So I've got a cable there for the amber and a cable there for the white, and they just plug in here, and then I'll get some of those little stick-on cable tie things and they can go in. There's a channel, I don't know if you can quite see that, but there's a channel in behind there, somewhere there. So I'll just stick those cable organisers on there to keep it neat and tidy. And then I've got my dimmer switch to go on here, and I've got a couple of little switches from the company Core Electronics up in Kotara, Gosford. Brilliant company. The service I can't rave enough about. They're a similar switch to these, but where these switches are simply on off, the ones that I got from these guys are a double switch, so there's an on off in the center, on at the bottom, and I'm going to mount them. I'm not sure yet whether I mount them in replace of two of those or I put them on here, but I'm going to use them to switch between the white and the amber, because I've got the one dimmer switch which I'm going to mount on here, the dimmer and on off, but I want it so I can actually switch between white and amber. Some of the more expensive light bars that are on the market actually have a little switch on here, but they're quite expensive for the bars. So I got these ones obviously a lot more cost effectively, but I want to be able to switch between them without having to unplug and plug in these cords every time. So I'll wire one of them up so it's on at the top's white, on at the bottom's amber, and then the dimmer will control how bright. The other switch, as I said, I've got two of them. The other one is going to be wired for my Narva lights, one there and one on the driver's side. So same thing, I'll just have it where I can flick it on for one lamp on the passenger side, on at the bottom for both lamps. So, but yeah, that's just an update. As I said, unfortunately I lost a heap of footage which I'm really disappointed about, but it is what it is. So I'm going to grab a vacuum cleaner now and just vacuum up all this swarf from where I drilled the gland holes earlier today and just have a tidy up. I'll chuck the fridge back in and plug it in and see how we go power wise. This will be the tester, so looking forward to it actually. So I'll do that, and then all I've got to do lastly is run power in from the box. As I said, I'll put those in through another gland, but I just need a power feed in from the box so that I can wire up all my switches and my LEDs, and then we're pretty much done for now. I know we always say that modifications are done, but when are they ever done? So yeah, I'll grab the vacuum and give this a clean out, and then I'll throw the fridge in. Alright guys, moment of truth. Let's have a look. Awesome. Absolutely stoked with that. It's working. There we go, the fridge is running off 12 volt. Let's pull this out. I will have to work out something for the power cable. I'm obviously going to shorten it, and I'm going to mount the Anderson plug up on the wall there behind the white box, so it will shorten that feeder cable. As you can see there, it's working on its own power. I'll cool it down. I've just put the 240 lead down here, which I normally do before we go camping anyway. Pre-cool it with 240 volt to save your battery. So I'll plug that in and I'll cool it down, and then I can plug it into 12 volt and pretty much leave it on now, and then just sort out that cord and power up my lights. In the interim, I am going camping in another week or two. If I don't get a chance to solder all this up in the meantime and run the power cable in as I mentioned earlier, I can always just use my cigarette lighter socket. These lights are wired in with a cigarette plug, so I've got a long enough lead that I can just run a lead out and around the back of the dog box and into the cage to the battery, because the battery box has actually got sockets on the top, and that is around this side. So yeah, on the back of the battery box there are USBs in the blue cover, and there's a 12-volt cigarette lighter socket there. So in summary, these two cables that are wired onto the terminals, negative and positive there, feed a power in from the CTEK. That's why it's fused there. You've always got a fuse at your battery point. That Anderson plug I put on earlier this morning, at the moment that's just fed out there and it goes around to the box, and that's feeding the fridge constant power. Got a little voltmeter there, so we're currently showing 12.4. It was at about 13, but obviously it's pumping power into the fridge to get it cooled down quickly, so that's why that voltage has dropped a little bit. But I'll plug the fridge back to 240 now, and yeah, I'm going to put some black split cover over this as well. But I'll plug it back into 240 now anyway, and go from there. Cheers. Morning guys, it is Sunday morning, day 4 or 5, I can't remember now after losing that footage. I'm not sure where we're up to, but just an update what I'm doing today. So I currently have the fridge in and it is running off its own power, which is great. I've drilled a couple of holes on the other side of the medicine box here, which I'm going to put some waterproof glands in. I've just been up to RTM and grabbed a couple of waterproof glands for up on top there. Ideally I didn't want to drill that many holes in this box, but as long as they're sealed I'll be safe and it won't matter too much. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is feed a twin core. I've got a 25 amp cord there, cable, twin core. I'm going to feed that from the battery, which I think I'll probably hardwire onto the battery with an inline fuse at the battery end. And I'm going to feed that in through these two cable glands. I've got another one to go underneath there. Obviously you can't feed twin core in through this, otherwise it leaves a gap for potential water to get in, so you do have to split it where it goes into these glands. So I've drilled a hole underneath there. I did that yesterday in between the showers, and that's the other thing that's been holding me up. It's this bloody rain. It's been very hard to film anything running in and out of the shed. But yeah, basically I've got a hole. I'll see if I can get the camera power. That hole you can see there where the sunlight's coming through. I'm going to put a second gland in there, and that's where the twin core will come in through, and that will feed power into this box, so I can finally wire up my switches, get all that going. I've got my voltmeter, amp meter there, which I've just got to wire onto the battery once I get the feed in. And I also have grabbed from RTM this morning a couple more of these terminals, which I'm going to connect onto here and run power cable out to my solar panel, so that the solar panel will be up on the roof feeding in there. I've put the insulation up on the roof there, which you can see, and the heat difference that makes is just unbelievable. It is so much cooler in this box. It's just a little King's one, which I bought a while back, used to be in the camper trailer. That's the little internal fridge thermometer. So just stuck some magnets on the back that I bought at the hardware, and it just sticks on, basically sticks on wherever you want it. Obviously it won't stick to aluminium, but that box is steel, so up under there. And I've got my strip lighting up on there. I'm just going to tidy up my wiring and hide it all down inside the tube there with a bit of conduit around it. And then up under here I've got the other two strip lights, which I'm going to wire in today with the power as well. So without further ado, let's rip into it. I've got my twin core there. Let's get this box going. So that, the other end will go across to the battery box. That's that for now. So you'll see inside now we've got our twin core coming through. Ideally this all would have been inside this box, but the problem was the entry points on this box are too far down on the headboard to get it where I wanted these holes. I would have had to cut some of that mesh headboard material out of the way, but it's way too far down to get the grinder in, and I just can't take this box back off now that it's all bolted down with the fridge slide and all. It'll be too hard. So anyway, this twin core will feed into the box on the side here through some rubber grommets, so it's out of the way. It'll go inside here, and then it will power the on and off out of there, and then these few switches will be used for our lights. And then all I've got to do is run a solar panel power in as well, which I'm going to do with an Anderson. So